Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Victory Life Legacy Spotlight. I have an extremely very special guest in the house today, Shanda Bailey, head coach Shanda Bailey, the Lady Crab with state championship winning. If you follow me on Facebook or Twitter, you've probably seen me post about her and her accomplishments long before she won a state championship. I've seen her grow into a great mother, great coach, and also I've seen her overcome a lot. We went to high school together, so we go back 20 plus years. She's a great friend to me. I admire her, but I feel it's important that she tells her truths, her journey, her struggles, that she's overcome, her successes, and how she got there. So, Shanda, let's get started. You just finished winning the state championship. And I know I read your post on Facebook and Twitter, and I know it was bittersweet because you had a phenomenal team this year, and it was tough because you guys had one game left when you found out that they had to cancel the games due to COVID-19. What was your immediate thought, and how did your team take it, and what did you do to reassure them?
Initially, I was crushed. The day before, we received notification that the games were still going to go on as planned, but that only immediate family could attend. So we had to send in a list of immediate family members. We did all that. I was at work, and my kids follow Twitter religiously. So they saw a tweet on Twitter stating that all state championship games for Friday, this was on a Thursday, all state championship games for Friday were canceled. I called to verify, and I'm not even gonna lie, tears in my eyes because we worked so hard to get there. I was never more confident in a game than I have ever been. Like, I knew we were gonna win that Friday. There was no doubt about it in my mind. And just to kind of have that, ripped from under you at the last minute, it kind of stung a little bit. But I didn't like the media's response to it at first, calling us co-champions. I really didn't feel that way. They were asking if I felt like being named co-champions kind of diminished, what we had done all season. And immediately I had to go in protective mode for my kids. It wasn't diminished at all. And to me, I looked at it as, instead of us celebrating, our 12 kids or 11 kids that we have on our roster, we were just going to celebrate, the top 22 kids in the state. And I was okay with that. Let the kids know that their safety comes first. And, it's not watered down at all. You guys fought hard to get here, and we should be proud of that moment.
Absolutely. As a fan of yours, a Hampton High alumni, I was eager. I was actually going to leave work or try to get down there and come support you. And then I saw the tweets. I also religiously am on Twitter. And just because I enjoy the interaction and just keeping up with so many people that are doing well. But it was bittersweet, but you are state champion nonetheless. You had a great season. I actually was fortunate enough when I came down to visit family, I came by the gym to see who was there, and I ran into you, and you guys were getting ready to practice, and I ran into you and Jay and your staff, and you were so humble. You allowed me to speak to those girls, and I had no idea later on they would be as great as they were and have the season that they would finish up having. But before we talk about more about them, we'll get to them a little later. I want to go back to when you got started, when you were hooping. When you were in the gym and you were playing, we walking around the hallway, the days of Midtown, fifth period. Shanda Bailey, you made a name for yourself the moment you got to Hampton. You were outspoken, you were confident, you had goals. I recently interviewed the Abraham family, and I talked to Taj Abraham, and we talked about that era, which I said was the golden era of Hampton Roads Tidewater sports. I do think there's some ballers now. Of course, your ladies are doing it up big, Princess and boys and girls sports, but that era was something special about it. What do you remember playing at Hampton, being a student there? How did you get into basketball? Before you became Coach Bailey and you were Shanda Bailey, how did that come about?
I just remember being a kid in the neighborhood, and some of my, my friends in the neighborhood liked basketball. And of course, I come from the playing outside era. So, right, the kids don't do that much these days, but I don't think if it weren't for that playing outside era, I probably would have never gotten into basketball. So I remember we were just outside playing, that's what they did every day. So that's what I did every day. And I started off playing summer league. They all wanted to play summer league. So I said, hey, I'm going to play. And it's funny. I tell my kids this story. I remember my first summer ever playing basketball. I scored 2 points, 1 basket the entire summer. But I was the best rebounder out there. I was just feisty. I could rebound, couldn't dribble. I couldn't shoot a free throw. I couldn't pass it, but I could get a rebound. So I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna keep up. I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep doing it. And this was the summer before my 8th grade year. I started late. I didn't start until then. And to me, from then on, it was history. When you have a coach like David Six that comes in, and I think that he helped instill or push that competitive nature out of me. I've always been a competitor, but he helped bring it out. So, once I saw that, hey, I can score more than 2 points, I'm a little mean, I'm a little feisty on the court, the rest to me was just history. And I just, stuck with it and was able to, make something of myself and go to school for basketball in 4 short years. So I just played 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, so 5 years then. But just, kids nowadays start early. I started very late, but it worked out for me.
It worked out well for you. And shout out to Coach Six. I'd always admired him, man. Even when I was at Hampton playing football and basketball, he's a great basketball mind. He's done phenomenal in the coaching ranks. I just love watching him coach. And, going back to you, I remember you being feisty. I remember, you weren't afraid to mix it up with the boys. Like, you would get out there with us and Baco and everybody. It was nothing to you. Where do you get that from? Is that like your folks? I mean, like your neighborhood? Because in the hallway, at parties, you're fun, you're friendly, respected, you have a great time, you enjoy life, but you do have an alter ego when you're on that court. Where'd that come from?
You know what? I really don't know. I think that for me, probably it's just, I think parenting has a lot to do with it. My dad has always been a huge supporter of mine. And, I just remember, playing with my brother when I was younger. I grew up like playing with my dad and my brother. That's who I played with. That's who helped get me better, So playing with those two and getting pushed around and, beat up a little bit and knocked down a little bit, it helps you, be a little more competitive than I think, maybe the average girl starting off. But that's what it is. And my brother took karate. He practices karate moves on me growing up every day. So I think it kind of, I just, was maybe just a little more feisty than, the normal girl getting out there. But I mean, it worked out. It's just my personality. I've always been, very vocal, very confident. That's just, something about me. I just don't know where it came from. I guess just growing up, being in the house with my parents helped me get there.
Yeah, you got a great family, man. Shout out to your brother Arnold, man. Love him to death. Another great person grew up with. So, when you were at Hampton playing, tell me your best years there. And I remember y'all had a real good year one year. You came on strong, which set it up for the teams that followed you after. What do you recall playing? The district games? Was it practices with Coach Six? I mean, talk about that time frame and what it was like playing at Hampton during that era.
Best years of my life, those high school years, you just don't get them back. I love basketball. I love coming in the gym. I felt like this was something that I was good at. We had a good team. I loved my teammates. And just the pride I had in Hampton High School, I wanted to play for Hampton. And I saw that we had the potential to do something great. And that's what we pushed for. Waynetta, Stephanie, Toya, Trina, all of us, we wanted something, we worked for it, and we were a family. So it, just great days. I just remember, Six was very tough on us. He was very hard, but he was loving and kind at the same time. his mother, God rest her soul, was always a very integral part of our development too when we were young like that. Six was just involved in every aspect of our lives at that point in time. And I think that he really helped shape a lot of us into what we are today. A lot of Sixers players coach college basketball, they coach high school basketball, they went on to play college basketball. So he did a great job helping to develop us, in those younger years.
So you mentioned college, which was my next question. I mean, you started late, which you mentioned how kids start early. I know I have a small AAU program, and we got kids out there trying to get on at 7, 8 years old, and people are already thinking about scholarships and exposure. It's so much different during the era we grew up in, which is okay because I think it's cool that kids and families are more aware. But you did not come up the traditional ranks of playing like Taj and People for Boo and going all across the country. You earned it. When did the college aspect come into play as far as, okay, these schools are interested, or I can do this at the next level? When did that happen?
Well, keep in mind too, when we played, you didn't have all these AAU teams like you mentioned. So the summer before my senior year, Boo had 2 teams. So we had a girls team and a boys team. And I was fortunate enough to get that 12th spot on Boo's roster. And I just remember we would go to DC a lot and we would play in tournaments, and coaches started expressing some interest, and I was just kind of amazed that, oh my God, like I could really get a scholarship doing this. And, we came back our senior year, we were all focused. We had good summers. Waynetta had a good summer. I had a good summer. Stephanie had a good summer. We were enthusiastic because at, our 11th grade year, we went to the regional tournament, and we did that without Waynetta. She had transferred and went to Phoebus and then ended up coming back our senior year. So, confidence level was really, really high because, she was our best player, and we were able to still, go far, without her on our team then. So when she came back, it really just made us, now our confidence level is as high as it can go. It's through the roof. And, I remember we just kept beating teams that people didn't expect us to win. They had an article about us calling us Cinderella Crabbers because we weren't supposed to be at the dance. I remember that article. We're looking at it like, we're not supposed to be here, like we aren't. So I think that, those years, again, they were the best years ever, helped push us. And it really, that year, seeing how far my team went, it really helped me realize that, okay, yeah, I can play college basketball. Like, this is something that really is going to happen. I had a few schools that were interested in me. Ended up going to the University of DC my freshman year and then transferring to Fayetteville State. But, I had offers from Tuskegee, College of Charleston, North Carolina Central, so, I had a few choices, but I wanted to kind of stay closer to home. And my mother went to Fayetteville State. My family's from North Carolina. So that's what I ended up going with the second year.
And let me just add, for those checking this out and kids that I coach and kids that you coach, a college opportunity playing and being a student athlete can happen at a lot of universities, including HBCUs. And I think in the golden era of sports, we didn't really know what was going on, but now the kids now have these expectations. They want to be on TV and, be part of these major conferences, but you can also have a great career and a great time playing at another good university like a Fayetteville State or a Hampton University. And I've always said I was blessed to go to Virginia Tech, but I was like you, I was just playing ball, and then all of a sudden you get these phone calls and letters. My family had no expectations. So, I just want to say that. But with that being said, you get to college, you stay close to home. Was it an eye-opening experience? Because, I've interviewed a lot of people, as you know, and everyone has different reactions, but many people, men and women, talk about, I had to step my game up, not just the curriculum and the regimen of classes, but like, these guys out here, these girls, they can go, like, and you played in the 757, which was real. It wasn't like you came from a weak area, but was it an eye-opening experience for you?
Absolutely. My coach, my freshman year, was the leading scorer in women's basketball at Providence. So just the level of expectation from her was, to me, crazy. And I never considered myself as a person that has an attitude, but I guess I realized I did have an attitude at that time.
Yeah. Oh,
I,
no, you can.
I remember specifically, we had to run a mile, and she told me that I had to make guard time. And I can't remember specifically what the time was. It might have been 6.5 minutes that we had to do the mile in, okay? And I came in 3 seconds after. And, she's telling people who have to come back the next day. And I'm like, I got to come back the next day? And she's like, yeah, you didn't make time. I was like, 3 seconds? You didn't make time. So I said, okay. So now the next day, I'm not going to make time. Okay. Now, girl, I'm not going to make your time. So I think I came in maybe like 7.5 minutes. It was like a whole minute over, because now I'm not, I lost that desire to push myself because I had such an attitude. She gave me one more chance. I didn't make time. She made me run in condition with cross country. I was so heated. I was like, now I gotta run with cross country. So I use that as a lesson to my kids, cry before the fall. All I had to do was suck it up and push myself and make it. I could have made it easy, but just push yourself. It was 3 seconds. But her level of expectation was the first practice that I remember going to, and my coach said, we lost the game. We came back in. She says, we're going to practice. And we had the balls out. And she's like, no, you don't need any balls. I'm like, how are we going to practice without the balls? And it just her. And you know what? I respect her to death. I see her a lot on the road with Boo Williams. I travel with Boo Williams in the 17U team. And I see her, and it kind of hurt my heart. I saw her last summer, and she pulled me to the side, and she said, you know what? Out of all the kids I had, I couldn't break you. Like, you were the one kid, like, you were just so tough. You refused to. I was just such a hard head. Like, I'm not. You are not gonna make me do this. You are not. And when I look back on it, I wish I had reacted a little different, but I was just determined that I'm not going to run this mile because you made me do it for 3 seconds. So I use that moment with my kids, because it really didn't help me. I ended up transferring. It didn't help me, in the end. So again, the level of expectation was just ridiculous. And even my sophomore year, I played with a lot of girls that were former military, because Fayetteville State is close to the military. Yeah. These girls first of all, they're grown women. I'm 19. These girls are like 22. They've been in the military for 4 years. Now they're getting up. They're grown women. They've played on all armed forces teams, and they could play. And you really have to step your level up to play with them. They're from D.C., Maryland, so just a different style. And PG County, Maryland. These girls are tough. So definitely had to step my game up both years. Definitely.
And Fayetteville, I'm familiar with Fayetteville because AP was down there. Walt was in the military down there. And Tyrone Tynes did a year or two down there on the football program. He was there. So, I was just like, wow, Fayetteville was so different. How was it for you? The college atmosphere, were you happy you transferred? Did you enjoy your time there?
To be honest, I don't think I was really focused as much with college basketball as I was with high school basketball. And, I feel like I'm in my position now for a reason. I tell girls a lot of times to not live their life for anybody else, not to try to chase guys to determine what school you're going to go to, because this boy is going to this school, this is where you want to go, to kind of live your life for yourself. And I don't think I did that, during my college years. I wish I had someone who was kind of in my ear to tell me to live my own life and kind of, have my own goals and ambitions instead of, trying to figure out what somebody else is doing and kind of live vicariously through them. So, I liked Fayetteville State. It was close to family. My family's from Dudley, North Carolina, so it was close to family. I knew people there, so it wasn't, like a total seclusion, or I'm away from everybody. But just my college basketball experience wasn't what it could have been, because I wasn't focused on that being what I should have been focused on. You know, my mind was everywhere else. You know, it was back in Virginia instead of being there, focusing on basketball and studies. I actually, you know, I really, you know, didn't care for college basketball like that. I didn't care for the college atmosphere like that. So I remember I would take crazy class loads, and I actually finished college in 3.5 years because I was so ready to get it done. You know, I was in class more than I was focused on basketball. I would come to practice, do the bare minimum, show up. You know, I was just ready for it to be over with. But if I could go back and do it again and do it differently, I definitely would.
And you know, I said really because I mean, and this is why I love doing these legacy spotlights, because you can be friends with somebody and seeing you come home and party with them and catch up. Hey, how you doing? And they, you know, and everything appears to be great. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you pledge all the different things. You know, you a scholarship play. I'm thinking everything is good, and I didn't know it was a situation where you weren't as focused. And did you ever? Because you had some great coaches and people, and you know your family, your brother, you have Coach Six, Boo Williams. Did you ever reach out to any of them, or you just kind of took it on yourself and just processed it yourself?
I was in contact with Six regularly, and I remember Fayetteville State. We played Norfolk State, and my dad came to the game. You know, Six came to the game. My family's at the game. And I was so focused on everything else and, you know, being home. I didn't even dress out. I didn't even want, you know, I told my coach, like, I just my mind just wasn't, it was on a boy. It wasn't where it was supposed to be. And, you know, my coach was just like, you can't, you can't, you know, live your life like that. And I remember specifically having that conversation with him, having that conversation with Six. You know, my dad was a little disappointed that he came to see me and I didn't want to play. It just got to the point where I really just wanted to be home, and I really wasn't into basketball like I should have been. You know, like my love for it had kind of dwindled down, and it took a long, long time for me to get it back.
And you mentioned you graduated. What was your degree in?
Mass communications, and I minored in English. So
at least you did paper. I mean, and you did still have the experience of playing college. Is that, even though you experienced a lot of success in your life and you have a great impact on the players you coach and the people around you, is that a regret when you reflect on your life so far?
You know what? I can't really say it is a regret. I wish I would have done some things differently, but I feel like it helped make me, like I needed to experience that, because again, I feel like everything happens for a reason. And being a coach at Hampton High School, I can't tell you the number of times that I've had young women who I see making some of the same mistakes that I made, you know, chasing a boy. And, you know, I'm the first one to tell them, listen, honey, this ain't how it's supposed to go, you know? So, and I feel like I can talk to them from experience and not just a position of authority, but more so, you know, on their level, and tell them, look, this is something that I've been through, and this is what you can expect to happen. I feel like it was necessary. So I can't really say I have any regrets for it. I mean, I felt like I did it. You know, I played high school basketball. I was good enough to get a scholarship, not one, but another one. You know, hey, that's the way it happened. That's the way my life was written, and I'm okay with it.
And I like that answer only because I think when we talk about the players today, I think that's what's lost, is that when I remember being cut from the NFL in minicamp and like sitting on the couch, just trying to figure out what I was going to do. But then I had 2 bachelor's degrees. I was like, well, I'll try it out for some other teams. But I was like, okay, now it's time for the next chapter of my life. And I think that's what you as well showed, is that it's not about just playing ball. It's about becoming a professional, maturing, you know, improving upon your status from high school into adulthood. And that's what you did. And I think that's probably why you have so much great insight and such great connections with your girls, because sometimes you can experience so much success and not facing adversity, and when it comes, you're overwhelmed by it. And
Absolutely.
that didn't happen with you. So you graduate, what's next? Because I mentioned how I was kind of like, okay, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I had some ideas, but I was so focused on trying to get to NFL, I had tunnel vision, but then eventually I transitioned. When I interviewed Damon and Tony, they both admitted, Damon Bacon and Tony Rutland, for those watching, that they struggled to transition and find their next step. Did you go into coaching right away, or did you say, okay, I want to travel, I want to go to grad school? What was your next step?
Right away, I went back to what was familiar, and it was Hampton High School. So I went right back to Hampton. I started coaching with 6. I was the youngest girls JV coach ever. We went undefeated that year. And it's funny because they made Miss Lucas coach with me. They thought I was too young. I was 21. You know, so they're like, Shanda, we remember you from when you were at Hampton High School. We don't know. You know, so they're still looking at me like a kid. And in all honesty, you know, I probably still was. But she and I coached it undefeated. And I probably stayed there maybe for about 3 seasons. And then I left the sport again, you know, and it's a pattern with me, you know, when I feel like the pressure just from life and, you know, everything else, I walked away from Hampton High School for a little while. And it took a minute for me to come back. I went and did coach college basketball for a couple of years. I went to.
Where'd you coach college at?
I went to Christopher Newport first, and I coached there for a year. And then I went on to Hampton University, and I coached at Hampton University for 2-3 seasons. And thought I was going to get married, you know, got engaged, had a baby, and then decided, like, I can't do this either. So, you know, I'm still really good friends with my daughter's father. I talk to him all the time. He was in the military, so he PCS'd and went to DC. She and I stayed in Virginia, and you know, we did the long distance thing back and forth. It was just really hard for me to juggle being a new mom and coaching. So I probably didn't coach for maybe 3-4 years. And then I decided that I was going to go back and do JV basketball again at Hampton High School. So again, I went back to what was familiar to me. So I went back to Hampton High School, coached their JV again. We were successful again, you know, finished in first place again. I think we had one season we finished in second. But, you know, really good team, really good girls. And then the head coach gets fired and they let all of us go. And I remember.
I didn't even know that.
Absolutely. And then I remember being so upset because I applied for the head job and they gave it to someone who wasn't even associated with Hampton High School. And I left and I went and coached at the apprentice school for a couple of years. And, you know, that was just way too much with my work schedule. I work for the federal government full time. So with my work schedule and the apprentice school's travel schedule was way too much for me. Again, single mother, so dealing with my daughter and school and everything else. So again, I stepped away, like, you know, let me take a break. And it was hard for me to watch Hampton High School girls basketball during that time. They were so talented. But we know that Hampton High School with the kids is a different type of kid. You know, you can coach Hampton High School kids hard.
Yeah.
You have to coach those kids hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of tough love. And I couldn't watch their games. And I guess maybe after a few seasons, the coach decided that they were going to leave. He was going to leave. And I got a call asking me if I would apply to the position. And I just remember like having this, again, that little attitude coming back like, nah, I'm not. I mean, y'all didn't give me the job 3 years ago, you know, so.
Attitude.
No, I'm not going to do it. And just in my heart, the love that I have for the school, for the kids, I thought about it and I thought about it. And I called James Harris, and I was like, James, if I take this job, because he had helped me with JV. So I was like, if I take this job, what you gonna do? Where you gonna help? And, James was like, he was on board. So I said, what the heck, let me do it. And loved it. And in all honesty, I just said that I would do it for a few seasons to help turn them around. I'm just gonna help turn them around. And this year, the kids that were 8th graders, when I started, they're graduating in June. So
that's awesome.
Turned into 5 long years, yes.
But that's a blessing. But you know what? What I hear is 2 things when I hear you talk about your journey back to Hampton High. I hear the struggle that people don't see for men and women becoming coaches, like the balance in a family life, dealing with challenges in your personal life, adjusting, whether I move. But the other thing I hear is, I don't want to, it is a double standard. And I can say that as a former male athlete and a guy that coaches as well as a business. I've yet to hear too many men talk about balancing family life in the aspect of parenting, like a female head coach. Now, I know that plenty of men, including some of my closest friends, have children at home and they want to be there for their wives and say, hey, listen, I don't get to see all these things, but it's something different for a mother, whether you're married or not. It is a very difficult balance to the point where it's almost like if you mention it, well, okay, she's not committed. She needs to be a mother. And on the same time, if you don't mention it and then you go all in and you're just basically, I'm coaching and I'm doing this, oh, she's seen as overly aggressive and she's got an attitude and she's too assertive. Talk about that double standard in sports with men and women, because I've heard Serena Williams talk about it after her tennis match when she went off. I've heard a lot of female athletes talk about it and coaches. Over the last 10 years, I give credit to my wife. She helped me see it, and I've been seeing it, but you are living it. What do you think about it? Does it upset you?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, I know. For starters, it is very hard for me to juggle being a single mother. Again, I have a great staff. We would not be successful if it weren't for my assistant coaches. We hands down, like I just come up with X's and O's, but trust me when I say they make it work, So I'll give you an example. Like my daughter has dance practice twice a week. So we're at practice twice a week. I leave out of practice to go and drop her off at dance, drive back. My coaches keep practice going. I drive back to practice, finish practice out, leave and go get her again, come back to drop kids off. Saturday mornings, I'm late because I got to take her to her basketball practice or her dance practice. She's always at the game running around. She's in practice running around. James gets practice started every single day for me because I can't get there until 4:00. I have to go pick her up. He's there on time. He has a girl started, so I think my coaches are very supportive, and, I'm supportive too. If you have it, like James's son is in practice as well, so, but for me, as far as like the double standard, it's very hard to be a good coach and not be assertive and not be strong, not be demanding, and compassionate at the same time. And I think, I'm definitely all for. But as a female, when you come off as strong and assertive and demanding, of course, you're labeled very quickly, where to me, that's a good leader. And I think that those are qualities that we would look for in a male to say that he's a good leader. But when a female has those qualities, it's kind of like, we won't say the word, but you know what I mean? They're like, oh, she a little, but you have to
say it.
I have to be that way. And it's unfortunate because men tend to shy away from women who are demanding in that sense. I'm not the type of female that you can come into my gym and you can run over me. You can't. I'm not the type of female where you can say anything to and expect me to be quiet. Not passive at all. And unfortunately, females are coaching girls basketball in an environment that's dominated by men. And when you come in and you demand the same type of respect, it's kind of looked down upon, oftentimes. And I think this year I really took it personal. And I think that's another reason we were so successful. I really took that personal. I took it personal that men are allowed to come into female sports. And I'm just speaking on the high school level. We won't even touch collegiate level, but on the high school level. And, they're allowed to bend rules and break rules. Right. And we're following them, but they're allowed to do it. And, it falls on deaf ears. But for me, we try to keep a certain standard and a certain level. And I think this year I really did have a chip on my shoulder about a whole lot of stuff that's just happened as far as girls basketball is concerned, and the way that they allow some men to come in and do what they want to do to our sport. And I don't say that to say that I don't feel like men should be able to coach girls basketball. I definitely don't feel that way. Again, I owe David Six a whole lot in helping me to become the person that I am. I feel like male coaches are definitely needed. James is a must on my staff. It's a must have. But what I'm saying is I would like to see female coaches taken just a little more seriously. I would like to see if you have a job opening and a female applies and a male applies, all things being equal, that the female is given an opportunity to show what she has. If you look at our district, if you look at the Peninsula District and you look at the makeup of our coaches, all of the female coaches have played college basketball. Every last one. Me, the Bethel coach, Amber played at a high level. Coach Stark, she played professionally. We've all played, even Lanika Talon, Mike Talon's wife, she's played at a high level. The guys know. So it's like is there a different requirement, for a female to be taken seriously than it is for a guy? If you had a female walk in and apply for the job and she says, "Oh, I've just coached rec league," is that a good candidate? Because we hire men like that. It's definitely tough. I feel as well, sometimes that, men may tend to try to take advantage of me in ways that they wouldn't take advantage of a male coach. I've had that happen a lot. And, of course, I've had to, stick up for myself and go to bat and say, what's acceptable when you deal with me and what's not. So again, even with parents, parents aren't used to female coaches. And young girls sometimes aren't used to female coaches. So it's that dynamic between women. So when you're in practice and you have a woman that's getting on you, it's a different dynamic than it is with a male. Because the male might not be as hard on you as the female coaches. I'm hard on my kids. Like, I'm tough on you. But then after practice, you want something to eat? You want to go to Chick-fil-A? Let me take you home. How's everything? How's your mom? Like, I love them hard, but I coach them hard as well. And, oftentimes just being a female, sometimes, you tend to look at that a little differently than you would a male coach doing it. So it is tough. It's very tough.
Yeah, but you know what? You said it very, very well. And I agree with every word you said, because I've seen it as I've grown as a coach, as a father, having two girls, both athletes. I've seen the hypocrisy, the double standard, even on a funny story where my wife and the family were out one weekend, one of them fall weekends when basketball was starting to be played, NBA, college basketball, and NFL. We were at dinner, and I was sitting there, and one of my good friends who's the assistant head coach at Stonewall Jackson High School. His brother is Justin Robinson, who was with the Wizards. And he's a good friend of our family. He comes up to me. He said, "Yeah, Vic, you from Hampton, right?" He was like, yeah. They were down in a tournament, and Stonewall played y'all. And y'all put it on them, as I knew y'all would. But what he didn't talk about how talented your team was, this is the assistant head coach. He said, man, they had a female head coach, man, and she just knew she was going to win. And it wasn't, he was just talking about you. I said, "You talking about my girl, Shanda Bailey?" I said, "Yes, man, she can coach." He said, "Oh, no, she can coach." But he was saying as if he had never really seen a female coach the way you did. And what I took it as, and again, Denard's not sexist, but what I took it as is that what you're saying is you didn't see a woman coach just like a man does. A great coach is a great coach. Like, I remember one of the things that stood out to me back in the day when I was at Tech, I was a huge, and still is, God rest her soul, Pat Summitt fan. And Pat Summitt said, I'm not just one of the best female coaches, I'm one of the best coaches. You know, and I remember, and Candace Parker said, the question is, you know, can she coach men? She can coach any gender, male or female. And I'm glad that you carry yourself like that. I can tell you were coaching personal because I post scores and some of y'all games, I know they had to be a running clock because y'all were putting on teams, 113-7 and, 97-20. And I'm just, but you know what? Sometimes in many cases, you got to let your game speak like that. And you got to put people on notice. That's the only way you're going to get your respect.
And let me say this though. So I think a lot of people see those scores and they have mixed feelings about it. So let me just say this. So this year we were very fortunate. I really had two separate teams within one. And I had two teams that could start. Two teams that any one of my kids could have started any game. That's how deep we were this year. So it really, it didn't matter if I had the first 5 in or the second 5 in, and they played equal minutes. We didn't press the whole game. They were just a well-polished machine. And keep in mind, these are kids that I've had since the 8th grade. So they've grown and now they're seniors, 4 of them. Now they're seniors. So they know how it's supposed. We have the leading scorer in the district on our team. Like these kids, they know how to play. And it's funny you mention that when we talk about differences in the sexes in coaching, I guarantee you Mike Smith never got scolded one time about any football score blowing anybody out. You know how many conversations I've had to have about you and your score. Dozier he's allowed to blow people out and it's not a question.
Exactly. And
when I blow somebody out now, we want to have a sit down conversation. I'm not trying to. It's not anything purposeful. I would never go in. I'm not going to say never. There's one coach that I would go in with the intention of trying to whoop him to death. But I don't even coach like that. We're pulling back. We're going to go in the zone. But that's just how it was. And to me, that was a difference as well. Like I see, Coach Smith has dominated eras of football. Nobody says anything. My first year of this wasn't our first year. We blew people out last year and the year before that. But this year we did it on a consistent basis. And now it is, now we need to have a conversation about playing nice. No, I'm just like Coach Smith. I'm trying to come out here and put some scores on the board and get some kids in college. That's what I'm trying to do. So, yeah.
Speaking of putting kids in college, I remember when I was down there during Christmas break, you mentioned there was a young lady, I don't remember her names, I'm bad with names, but Tech and a few other schools that offered her. And do you have any seniors that went on to any colleges? And do you have any upcoming players that people should keep an eye on that has college interest?
You're speaking of Jayla Harp. She's only a 10th grader. So she had
a sophomore?
She's a baby. But yeah, she has Tech, JMU, William and Mary, UNC Wilmington, ODU. Yesterday I had 2 coaches contact me about her. You know, she is, East Carolina called her or had called me about her last week. So she's a talented player. She plays on Boo's 16 EYBL team. We have another kid, Danielle. She's a junior, only a junior. She had committed to Brown. She just recently decommitted, to see what other options she can get. But she's definitely an Ivy League kid, really smart kid. I think she has like a 4 or 6 GPA. For my senior class this year, Sierra Bell, hands down to me, best player in the Peninsula District. She can play. Cece is going to Gardner-Webb, which is a Division I school. Candace Johnson, my starting point guard, she hasn't decided where she's going. As a matter of fact, it's funny you say that. My phone just vibrated, and it's the coach texting me about her. I have another kid that's going to Air Force Academy. So, I mean, just success all around. I really expect next year, we had 3 kids this year that'll play college basketball out of 4 kids that are graduating, 3, and maybe 1 will end up going to play JUCO. So I'm hoping all 4 of them end up playing at the next level. But definitely, I'm expecting next year to be the same thing. So we still have a really good bunch that's left over. And I had a freshman this year. The littlest thing on the court, I call her Baby Crabber. Oh my God. The little one, she talks more junk than me in practice. That's why I love her. Like, she is, Coach Bailey, you need to sit down. Like, she knocked me down in practice one day with her little self. Feisty, but she has a lot of looks. Schools are still watching her. So, just good things down ahead. I'm looking forward to see how they grow.
You know what? That makes me feel good, because another thing you mentioned about coaching is that what I remember, and I've had this conversation with James, your assistant, and even Damon and other guys that play collegiately, is that it's not an obligation, it's not your job description, but if you expose them to all the success winning on the court, you should take responsibility in helping them transition to an opportunity for life after basketball, which includes academics, college. Does that mean everyone that goes to college is going to be successful, or does it mean you're better than people that didn't go to college? No, because I know a lot of people who have blue-collar jobs who have a very lucrative life and they're happy and doing well, but your team is very talented. And the one thing I hated when I was growing up is when I graduated from Hampton, I was one of only a few people that had all these offers that went on. And there were so many guys that I thought were really, really good in football and basketball that stayed home and went to Tidewater Community College or Thomas Nelson for a semester. And the next thing you know, you're just riding up and down Mercury Boulevard. And, I just appreciate you doing that, because that's one thing. I'm not going to call any other coaches, but that's one thing I think a lot of men need to step their game up with. Getting in, and it's not your job to do it. They got to do the work, but helping that recruitment process and showing parents, hey, look, these schools offer this, and taking those calls from coaches. So I'm really, really happy to hear that. I do have to ask you this, Shanda, because with great success like you started, these expectations come. This 2-part question. How good would you guys, ladies, be next season coming up when the season comes back into swing? And will you eventually return to college? Because I know how this works. I got a lot of friends that coach very well, and these expectations will create, ain't just your girls gonna be getting calls. You're gonna get calls, which you probably already have. Will your team be really good next year? And eventually, do you see yourself coaching at the collegiate level?
So here's the thing about the first question, how good will we be next year? We have the talent, but we're dealing with kids, right? Yeah. So we're going to be as good as they want us to be. We're going to be as good as they work. We're going to be as good as they practice. And we have the talent. But I have to see, I'm one of those coaches where I get a gut feeling, once I, midway through the season, I can tell, like, okay, this team has it. We have all the pieces. I think next year we'll have to play a different style. I forgot to mention another kid that transferred to us, Alana Sellers. I think we'll depend on her a lot more next year. Plays inside. I mean, can truly dominate. So, we'll see. You can't bet on kids, right? So we'll see how the kids, we'll be as good as they want us to be. We'll be as good as they want us to be. As far as, returning to college basketball, I have been approached by a couple of schools. And I will have to say, for me right now, the answer is no. And I'll tell you why. Like, my parents are getting older. I can, just see my father aging. And I've always been that kid where I feel like if I were going to leave this area, I should have done it, a long time ago. So kind of right now, I don't want to say I feel stuck, because that wouldn't be the right word to use. I don't feel stuck. I could leave anytime that I want to, but I wouldn't leave my parents at this time in their lives. I feel like they need me more than I need them. At one point in time, we're depending on our parents. Now I feel like, my parents depend on me for a lot. My daughter is very happy in this area right now. College basketball, unless it was something that was local. And even then, the money here that you would make in college basketball wouldn't match what I make at my regular 9 to 5. And I'm definitely, taking any pay cut. But I would have to really check myself and see where my passion lies. Right now, my passion lies in Hampton High School. I don't think I would ever coach at another high school other than Hampton High School. That's the only school that I would even consider stepping on the floor and helping the kids. I just love my high school. I love my city. And I try to pour into those kids as much as I can. And there have been several times, let me say this, there have been several times when I'm like, all right, this is my last year. I've never seen myself as a lifer, like, Coach Smith or Coach Brower or Coach Mitchell. But it turns out that that's kind of the path that I'm going in, which is a tradition at Hampton High School. Every time I'm like, all right, this is it. I'm going to leave after this group of kids. I turn and I look at the kids that we have, and I just do not want our program to go back to what it used to be. And I don't want the kids to not have the opportunities. I'm always on the phone contacting coaches about my kids. I'm always trying to find ways to get them better. I study the game. I'm in film. I'm looking out for their best interests. And I would hate to leave and have somebody who doesn't have the love for the school and the love for the kids that I have, and have them come in and have to watch Hampton High School basketball girls go right back to where they came from between me and six being, in those leadership positions. So right now I'm going to say no. I think that we do have coaches on our staff that would definitely be capable of, taking over the program if, one day I decide that that's it for me. But right now, today's not that day. So, we'll see. We'll see.
I'm sure Hampton High fans are happy to hear that. I'm happy, and I respect that answer. And I definitely respect your love for your family and the importance of being there for them. And you also do coach one of Boo's team, right? Boo Williams' teams?
Right. I help him with the EYBL, the Elite Youth Basketball League, the 17U girls. So, I mean, you're talking about phenomenal talent. Like, just to be able to coach, top 25 kids. That we have a bunch of kids on the team that are ranked top 25 in the nation. And, the PD, this Peninsula area, Peninsula Southside, the 757 area is so rich in girls basketball. Like, you wouldn't believe there's so much talent. But just having the opportunity to be in the gym with them and, learning from them as well is phenomenal. So, yep, I traveled with this team this year. Of course, COVID-19 put a damper on it. We were looking forward to a great summer, but hopefully, we'll be able to play come July or August time frame. So we'll see what happens.
Sure. Yeah. And I ask a lot of people that coach football, basketball, even track, or other sports, you know, me and Ahmad Hawkins were having this conversation actually before we jumped on this interview. I feel like the kids today are mislabeled or soft or they're entitled. There's a lot of stuff. Me and James Harris, we talked about this. Your assistant, we talked about it. It's a difference, but at the same time, the OGs before us called us soft. So, do you feel like the challenges with social media and the other stuff that wasn't around, we were around, is that something you've gotten used to? Yeah, is that hard for you?
It's hard. I think I'm gonna tell you how hard it is. Like end of the season, I told my kids, stay off social media. Listen to wisdom. If you want to win, stop listening to other people's opinions. Stop going on social media and say who said what about somebody and who did this. You know, I walk into practice and they're talking about, she said that we suck and she said, quit it. You know, we weren't raised like that. We weren't, you know, behind a computer. We were to your face on the court telling you suck.
True that.
The kid, so, and what's funny about that is when James is in practice and he's telling them like, oh, you suck. You know, he's telling the girls, they're like, I suck. Like, you know, like girl, yeah. Can you toughen up, honey? You guys are so used to, I think social media has, in a way, made people more insecure than ever. Because you're always looking for validation from somebody. Somebody has to validate you. Somebody has to like your tweet. Somebody has to like your picture. I feel like as far as kids and the recruitment game is concerned, I feel like it's made it worse because kids want to get an offer just so they can tweet it. You're not even interested in school. What do you care if they offer you?
Yeah, you're not going there.
So you just want to get on that, and all of them say the same: blessed to receive an offer from, you know, and I like it, and you know, and I fall victim to it too. I tweet out, you know, when my kids get offers because that's the day and age that we're living in, and that's the type of validation that the kids feel like they need. I understand that. I hope that I'm helping them get to the point where you realize that you don't need anybody to validate you. You don't need anybody to validate you. You know, I tell them all the time, and I say this in a lot of meetings that we have. I could care less if I get one Coach of the Year vote. I really could. I don't care about that. But what matters to me is that my kids receive the recognition that they deserve because I've lived my dream. I've done it. I did it the way that I wanted to do it, and I don't need validation to know that I whipped your butt this year. I don't need that. So I don't need it. It's wonderful to have. You know, I'm blessed and happy to be recognized by my peers. Great feeling, but you know, yeah, the kids need that these days. The kids live for it, and I think it's made them a little soft, just a little.
Yeah, that part I don't disagree with as far as that being soft, the mental, because of the validation, which is a very well said point. Well, Shanda, I do, last thing I have for you, I often give my guests an opportunity to share their final thoughts, man. You know, your thoughts about life, what the game has taught you, coaching, being a mother, any feedback you want to give to women following you down the same path, if they want to become a coach, to new mothers, to players out there who feel underappreciated, or whatever you want to share, here's your opportunity right now.
I guess what I'd like to leave with is to definitely a message to young ladies, to parents too. Put your child in sports. You know, let them develop a little bit of toughness. Let somebody coach your kid hard. Don't let them disrespect your child or abuse your child in any way, but understand the difference between somebody who loves your kid and is bringing out the best in them and somebody who dislikes your kid. Like, I love all of my kids, right? But I'm gonna coach every single one of them hard. And for young ladies, allow yourself to be molded, allow yourself to be coached. Understand that basketball mimics life in so many ways. You know, if you can, I tell my girls all the time, if you can deal with me, somebody who loves you, that's constantly correcting you, that's making you better, that's pushing you, when you get out in that real world, the first person that says something to you, it's not even going to phase you, because you're so used to toughness and competitiveness every single day. I just think sports is the way to go. I want to encourage all young ladies to get out there and be leaders. Push to get jobs in basketball, push to get jobs in tennis, track and field, push to compete. You know, females are just as good as in coaching this game as males are. Get out there and try to get those jobs. And then I ask people that are in positions of authority, you know, consider women seriously for positions, and you know, treat them the same. You know, we have a voice, we're capable, and you know, we're winners too, and we're leaders as well. So that's what I like to leave everyone with.
Well, Shanda, I agree with you, and I really appreciate your insight and some wise words, motivational words at that. And you've been a great guest. You know, it's funny, I grew up with you, I know you, but I still enjoy learning some new things about you today. So I look forward to next season. I pray you and your family stay safe. You keep molding and shaping lives, empowering young ladies to be successful women. And with that being said, I always say this for everybody watching this, man, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, make sure you leave a positive legacy and a great impact. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Ready.